But I was very struck by the Tory activists that they're, in a sense, a lost tribe. A lost tribe. Desperate to believe in something, desperate to believe in somebody, and know they're headed inevitably towards a very big defeat at the next general election. A big defeat. But what was so interesting was not what was said on stage, but what wasn't said on stage. Oh, on stage we had Suella Braverman. You know, she talks about invasions, she talks about hurricanes and all of those things, but actually, did she offer any solutions? And Rishi Sunak, as Alison Pearson so correctly said in the Telegraph, if you'd asked people for their top 25 priorities, banning smoking, which let me assure you I am not in favour of, and rejigging A-levels wouldn't even have been in the top 25, maybe not even in the top 50. So whilst it was very nice to be welcomed by their delegates in the way that I was, and whilst it was generous of the Prime Minister when asked a question by Christopher Hope, now of GB News, to say, oh well, you know, the Conservative Party is a broad church, so perhaps we could welcome Nigel in as a member once again after 30 years of the Conservative Party. So I've come this morning to bring you my decision. And I don't want to spoil your day or anything like that. The very thought that I would rejoin a party who we, as the Brexit Party, helped in the most astonishing way, and we did it. We did it. We did it within 6 weeks of launching by winning that European election in 2019 and getting rid of one of the worst Prime Ministers in British history, Theresa May. She still seems to want to hang around, goodness only knows why. And we did it by pushing the Brexit agenda. Boris Johnson would never have become Prime Minister had it not been for the efforts of this movement and this party. No question. And, somewhat controversially perhaps, I was very, very generous to him in that general election in 2019. And some of you agreed with it, and some of you didn't agree with it. And that's what life's like. You have to make decisions as a leader and stand by them. I still believe that the idea of a Liberal Democrat, Jeremy Corbyn coalition and a second referendum would not have put the country in a good place. So maybe Rishi thought, given that I'd been so nice to them, at the end of 2019, that I could be tempted to rejoin a party that has betrayed many of those Brexit promises. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party that has seen legal, let alone illegal immigration reach record levels. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party who've just put up corporation tax on our small businesses by 30% and refused to review the IR35 rules. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party who locked us down 3 times, wholly unnecessarily, with a long-term health cost to this country that'll prove to be ruinous. Maybe he thought I was going to be generous to a party that has now become a social democrat party in all but name. Big state, high tax, control of every aspect of your life, virtually indistinguishable, frankly, from Starmer's Labour Party. Well, I've come today to give my answer. Very, very sweet of you, Prime Minister. But I'm really sorry. The answer is no, I will not. So, my efforts and my work will be solidly behind Richard Tice and Reform UK. Make no doubt about that. By the way, you may not know this, but I'm not a big fan of the British banks. What a campaign that's been, and it's barely started. But what you may not know is that Metro Bank are now in real trouble. Their share price is down 99% from the peak, and they're in desperate trouble. And I should, of course, be generous of heart and say that I'm sorry for the travails of Metro Bank. Do you know Metro Bank gave notice on the Brexit party's bank accounts, foreclosed on us, told us immediately they would not do business for our party, put us into the most precarious position 2 years ago. So I'm sorry, Metro Bank, what goes around comes around. Maybe that'll teach them. Political debanking is not a very good idea, particularly when still a majority of this country actually are good, common sense people. Now look, if I'm good at one thing, I'm not good at very many, but if I'm good at one thing, I'm good at spotting gaps in the market. And right now, there is the most almighty gap in the UK political market. It's enormous. This party has been bubbling away quietly just under the radar. It feels to me a little bit like UKIP was back in 2012, 2013. Not being talked about much, but quietly, slowly, solidly, organically growing in support, candidates and the calibre of people that want to stand for it. And so actually for us to be already at 8% in the polls, and with the rather excellent, genuine and sincere Howard Cox leading our campaign in London, and what a great job he's doing. We're actually making good, solid, steady progress. But we're about, as a party, to enter into new space because of what was not said at that Conservative Party conference, and what will not be said by Sir Keir Starmer at the Labour conference in Liverpool this week. For one, you'll have noticed that we put Brexit back onto the logo. We lent Brexit to Boris Johnson and an 80-seat majority. And they've had ownership of Brexit for all this time. And whilst we may stand taller in the world as a result of Brexit, and by goodness we do, whether it's the AUKUS deal or leadership, whether you agree or not with it in Ukraine, domestically, the reason we won the vote, the reason the turnout was higher than the pundits expected, was because people wanted us to take back control of our borders.